Today I'm joined by Karissa Johnson. She's a blogger, an author, and a world traveler. Karissa, how are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm really glad to be here today.
Thank you so much. So I was so when I saw your blog, it says 7 by 30. And I was like, wow, that's very catchy name. Can you explain to us, what 7 by 30 means?
Absolutely. 7 by 30 came to me when I decided to lock in on this goal, this dream, to see all 7 continents by the age of 30. So that's why my blog is called 7by30.com.
So what inspired you, to set that goal to hit those 7 continents?
Well, at the age of 21, I had a mild stroke, and it changed the whole trajectory, the whole flow of my life. And the right side of my body shut down, basically. Lost my speech, I couldn't write my name, I was dragging my leg. When I had the chance to receive the healing, when I was really blessed to receive healing mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and I finished my degree, I said, how am I going to reward myself? And I said, well, let's go to another country. That sounds like a good idea. So I went to England and I went to France in 2011. I had the stroke at 21. Okay. So it took about 4 years for me to finish my degree because of so many challenges and deep valleys and dark places that I was in, trying to fight that and really get to that place of healing and full recovery. But in 2011, I was finally victorious and finished my degree, and I went to England and France, came back. At the time, I ended up being in grad school, and I sat down with my parents in November of 2011, and I said, I feel like I am being called to teach abroad. Wow. And I had just visited 2 countries, and I hadn't even come up, I don't think, with the 7 by 30 goal at that point. But I told them that, and they're like, well, my mom was like, well, what about grad school? What are we going to do about grad school? And I'm like, grad school will be there when I get back. And my dad's like, just go. And so I obeyed that call. I really felt like the Lord was calling me to teach in Asia, and I was putting my application out there, my resume, and I got all these invitations from all different types of countries and schools and institutions, and I decided on a school in China. And when I was in China, I realized, I think I can make this 7 by 30 thing happen.
That's amazing.
And that's how it all started. When I was like, okay, that's North America, I got that, I'm from there. Europe, got that, and Asia, so far I have that. And that's how it all started.
So let me backdrop a little bit.
Okay.
When you have that stroke, I know that was a rock bottom moment for you.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people go through adversity this time. How do you keep a positive mindset to go through all those steps and become who you are?
One thing that I am so grateful for is my army of accountability. Like my army of family and friends and loved ones who uplift me and support me and challenge and encourage me and are just present. And I think that if I were to go through that dark place without my family, without my friends supporting me and encouraging me, I would not have been able to walk into that place of healing, and then reminding me of the Word of God and what that says and what God thinks of me and how I can really walk out in freedom and healing and restoration. So that complete army of accountability is critical in actually receiving your freedom and your healing and your restoration. If you're able to go through something that's that deep and that dark alone and come out okay, that's rare. But if you go through something deep, dark, and challenging with a family, with a great network of friends and accountability partners, then you're more likely to come out healthy and sound and restored. So I'm so grateful for that. I definitely wasn't able to do that on my own, but I had to have the mindset to move forward. So even if you have an army of accountability, you still have to make that decision. Hey, I have the capacity to move forward. Do I have the courage to say yes? That's
pretty amazing. So through all those experiences, traveling to all those countries, you talk about 7 steps in your book.
Yes.
Can you expand those 7 steps, and on top of that, what were your challenges and opportunities going through all those countries?
Well, I'm not going to tell you about all the 7 steps because then why would you need to buy the book? But I will tell you.
You must be a good salesperson.
I will tell you the first step is stack your chips. That was one of the most important parts of my journey. If you haven't stacked your chips, or saving essentially is what it's saying, is it's so critical that you do your saving or whatever way that you use to make purchases or spend money. For me, it was stacking my chips and saving because I don't have credit cards. I didn't use credit cards during my entire 7x30 journey. And I'm talking about several flights, several train tickets.
Everything's paid for.
Everything was paid for with cash.
With cash, okay.
Based off of what my income was.
Cash is king.
No, cash is king for me. Cash is king and queen for me. Now you have so many other people who are like, oh, well, no, I do it this way. To each their own. For me, what was best was stacking my chips, being reasonable. I'm naturally rather frugal, and so when I'm spending money, there has to be an intention attached to it. So for me, it was mapping out my plan, say for instance, for Southeast Asia with someone in my army of accountability who said, I've done this before, this is a good route for you, this is going to be most economically feasible. So go this route, and that way you'll be able to achieve your goal, but not spend as much. Say, for instance, I took a flight from Singapore to Australia that I think was maybe around $300, and I had to.
That's a bargain.
It was a great bargain, but there was a bargain. There was a trip that wasn't quite a bargain, which was Antarctica. So I had to be really strategic in my spending and my planning to say, okay, this is a $5,000 trip. You need to make sure that you have $5,000 to spend, to use for this cruise and for this experience. So that took some planning. It doesn't all happen just like, okay, I woke up one day and I said I want to do 7x30. No, it took time. And if you are really intentional about a thing, then it will come to pass. If you're not really intentional about it, then more than likely it won't happen. But it definitely takes intention and strategy.
Cool. So recently, you did something that struck me. Most of us are so addicted to social media. Some of them do for business, things like that, but people are so addicted to social media, like, our phone and email, things like that. Recently, you unplug. And,
Yes.
you didn't have your email, your cell phone, social media, all those kind of stuff.
Yes.
What triggered you, to take that journey, and what was the result?
Actually, it happens quite a few times.
Okay.
Throughout the years.
I didn't know that. It was just one time when I sent you that email.
It
and
was
I got
the
a
first.
reply.
Yes, it was the first time that I had actually documented that I'm going on this cyber silence period, and I had the blog to post about that. And usually, I will have my cyber silence truly silently and not alert the masses. Just step away, deactivate the Facebook account, delete the Instagram app, that type of thing. But this time I said, you know what? Let me put a voice to this. Let me give some of my heart, expose a bit of my heart to the obsession with projection that I had seen myself get to with social media and posting. And okay, so which audience did this reach, and how many people commented, how many people liked it? Okay. And the danger in that is that we kind of get into the place where we can measure our value and our worth. And so at times I do just a little checkup. Okay, if you pull away, are we still okay? How are you still feeling about yourself? Because sometimes, especially with the younger generations, they were born into this. And I'm 31, and people that are 20 and 15, they're born into this phase. They're born into social media. It came, later on in life for us. But I think that when you can, I don't even want to say control it, but when you can really be a good steward of your time, if you're a good steward of your time, then it's a win. If it is taking over your life, when it's your first thought in the morning, when it's your last thought at night, I get concerned because I think that the most, the thing that so many of us, whether we're in the U.S. or whether we're in Congo or whether we're in the Philippines, whether we're in Australia, whether we're in Argentina, we have this connection of human life. And this is not true human life. It's valuable, it has purpose, it connects us, but when we don't become extremely intentional about connecting with the physical human life, and that's not the priority, it kind of scares me, because when you go into a room, most people are connecting, but they're usually not connecting here. And all over the place, you see the value and just the beauty of that physical human connection, the voice to voice, the touch, and how it's priceless. And when we take time to sober up, essentially is what I did. I sobered up. I sober up for a period of time. But everything in moderation. When you take the time to sober up, you kind of realize, oh wow, those trees have 4 different colors. Just the simple things. This is a part of our life, and it will continue to be a part of our life. Social media, Wi-Fi, everything that's electronic, that is where we are and is where we will remain. However, everything in moderation is my thing. So when it becomes an obsession, that's when an alarm should be going off.
Good point you made. Good point you made. It's kind of fascinating me sometimes when you see people sitting across the room from each other and they see texting instead of just getting up and talk to the person. Like, oh, let me just text, him or her, right there.
Right.
Cool. Let's get to the final part of this interview, which is my fun part.
Okay, here we go.
So, what's your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure?
Yes.
Oh, that's a good question. Instagram? Is that a guilty pleasure? Okay. That may be the explore option on Instagram, because you don't know what's going to pop up.
Not the addiction that we just talked about.
Not the addiction. Okay. It's a guilty pleasure.
Okay.
And everything in moderation. So maybe I can set an alarm for 15 minutes. I get to search the explore button on Instagram for 15 minutes.
What's your best city in the world right now? If you had to go move to one city for the rest of your life, what would that be?
I get asked, about favorite places and things like that. If there's one city that really impacted me a lot and that I would return to, I told my mom when I came back from Hangzhou, China, after a year and a half, I told her I could retire there. I could see myself retiring there. It just was that instant community. Was welcomed there. I definitely didn't look like I was from there, but I was.
Yeah, you were welcome there.
I was welcomed there, and when you're welcomed in such a beautiful way, and it becomes a home, and it's so foreign, and yet it becomes home. It's hard to shake that. It really is. It's hard to shake that. So I would definitely say that Hangzhou, China, if I were to move somewhere today and be completely fine with that, it would be there. There's a place called the West Lake, and it's like an island. There's an island within this lake that you can go to, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. There's weeping willows all throughout the city. Okay. It's absolutely beautiful.
Awesome. If you had to be one animal, which animal would that be?
If I had to be an animal, I would be a lion.
Whoa.
I would be a lion, king of the jungle. Absolutely. It's definitely something that people look forward to seeing and encountering. Well, other animals wouldn't look forward to encountering it, but.
So who is that one mentor that you look up to?
I would say right off the bat, I think of my writing coach, Alexis Carter, and she has been there for me for about over a decade, actually. She was older than me in college. She was a couple of years older than me. I think that watching her in leadership roles stood out to me initially. But watching her after college and how she definitely supported and encouraged me throughout so many different beautiful moments and challenging moments, and she's just really been a pillar in my life throughout the years, just been consistent and constant. I definitely admire her, and she's a pastor in Oklahoma and just a solid young woman.
Awesome. What are you the most grateful for?
I'm grateful for my relationships. my relationships throughout my travels. I mean, sure, I admire the architecture. I definitely appreciate the cuisine. The food's been great. But what stands out to me, no matter where I go, there's somebody in that city, somebody in that country that pierced or touched my heart in a way that I haven't been able to forget. So what I value most are my relationships with my family, my relationships with my friends, with my students in Saudi Arabia. I taught at a couple of universities in Saudi Arabia. I connect with them on Snapchat. So when I pull away, that's a problem. Where are you, teacher? Where are you, teacher? But that's what I value the most, are always going to be my relationships.
So what would be your last advice to my viewers?
My last advice to your viewers would be a good steward of your youth, be a good steward of your time, and be a good steward of your relationships.
Awesome. Karissa, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Marco. My pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment below and subscribe to our show somewhere here so you don't miss any content.